properties.
Okay, now we should have audio. That's good. We have audio. Very nice. Very nice. Ooh, sibilance. Sibilance. It's very loud. I don't like that. We'll cope. We'll cope with this. I need to have some kind of real-time de-esser. Jesus. It's very aggressive in these headphones. Okay, one second. Let me have chat open as well. Should I receive company at some point during the stream? Which is plausible. You never know. It's always a plausibility. Computer dashboard. Yeah. Let me go to stream. Very nice. Very nice. That sibilance is driving me crazy. Hey, maybe I just gotta have the mic off angle so that it's not as aggressive. Sibilance. Okay, maybe that's what we gotta do. We have to have the microphone off axis from me. And with it like that, I can work. I can be productive in the way I desire. What are we doing in terms of output? I can go even louder because we have our limiter working. I don't want to be too audio nerdy today, but at the same time, I cannot avoid the audio nerd desire in me. Okay, so we're looking at the current progress of the game. I have a couple things I want to do. Today's gonna be kind of a level designy kind of day. Or maybe some graphics programming, who knows. Yeah, there's some level tweaks you have to do here, because things are not working the way I intend them to be. Meow. So yeah, there's graphic stuff. I want to fix normal maps on the player. Have you had normal maps working? Rapation? Hey yo, what's going on, Rapation? Long time no see. Good to see you, man. Oh no, I died. Now we're back here. Like a jabroni. Yeah, it's been a while. New Twitch account? Yeah, new Twitch account. Yeah, I think I need to start doing, like, posting to my old account so people know that I moved to this new account. Cozy Cabin Games. That's alright. It's been kind of nice starting fresh. It's very interesting. No, I didn't lose the old one. It's just I want to have everything centralized to my game studio, Cozy Cabin Games, and I didn't want to lose the Trixlebit account either by changing names. So I figured we'll do the hard thing, but potentially more rewarding thing, which is starting fresh. How many times do you get the opportunity to start fresh in life, right? So yeah, the past couple months I've been streaming exclusively from the Cozy Cabin Games channel. I should probably make some more announcements so old folks can know that happened. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Let's try to get it going. Yeah, here we go. But yeah, that's been a thing that's been going on. That new focus on Cozy Cabin Games in general, and then this new game I've been working on, which has been very interesting. Yeah, today's gonna be kind of a level designy day. There's some technical stuff I want to work on. Ooh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs, what happened here? Object not valid due to current state of object? Nani? What? What? Is this continuing of that 2.5D game you're working on, or is this separate? It depends on which 2.5D game you're referring to, because I think I've done quite a lot. Yeah, if you think of the top-down generated one, some cool spells, you might be thinking about. There's a game I worked on called Crimson Crown that is also 2.5D. It wasn't pixel art though. If I can navigate around. Actually, Twitter should have this. Meow. Yeah, switch socials and everything too. Meow meow meow. Come on, Lude. Here's this game. That was the last project I worked on, and left. People were like kind of freaking out. Yeah, this is the one. Yeah. When I told people I was gonna switch from this game to this other game, they're like, "Why would you do that? It's looking so good and it's so far along." But I think as a designer, I kind of realized, yeah, the presentation's cool and everything, but mechanically, it's not really that interesting, and I don't quite feel very good with it. So what is this bug? Does this happen every time? Let's see. But yeah, it's not gone forever. I would like to revisit it when I'm a better designer. But you know, it's definitely a more ambitious game technically speaking. So having it work on a game that's technically simpler would like be helpful, because then I could test my dev kit with something that's a bit easier to maintain than the architecturally complex game that game was turning into, that Crimson Crown was turning into. Meow. Hello. Yes. Yeah, we need to spice up these environments a little bit more though. I think I've spent so much time on the technical side of this game, since we've done a bunch of weird custom things like our own lighting system. We wrote our own lighting pipeline. And custom light baking, all this kind of stuff, and now we have to do in the 3D landscapes. Yeah, it's super cool. It's not, and it could be cooler. Like if you look at older videos of the game, it was actually cooler because we had meow 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 meow. Let's switch to the actual Cozy Cabin Games account real quick. We had normal maps working with the game, meaning light behaved. Like they treated the game objects as if they're 3D. So, even like here, you can see how there's highlights from the character being backlit. Let's see if I can find this. No. Come on. There's a good boss fight too. Yeah, right here. Like, you see how the character is like lit on the tops and sides, as if the character was 3D. And that was with the old implementation of normal maps I had going on. I think I had some more videos of it in action. Yeah, it's kind of in action there. This boss fight, I think maybe it was visible during that. You can kind of, geez, that compression is terrible. That compression is terrible. Blue Sky sucks, dude. I'm not gonna lie, Blue Sky kind of sucks with its compression. Like, its compression is absolutely kind of dog water. I'm not gonna lie. Let's see if X does better. X 100% is gonna have a better video quality. Let's see if the video there looks good. Come on, buddy. Come on, pal. Come on, friend. Media. Yeah, it wasn't present there. Yeah, that's a glitch we had. Alright, let's see. Maybe it's... You can't really see it there. It's not as present. Dang it, Bobby! Oh, here. It looks present here. So, like, leading up, you see how the character is kind of lit. from the sides and back by light source. And you can see it with her sprite too. Like even though she's in a shadow, you can see rims of light there. I don't know, it's the compression is not helping it, but yeah, that was a thing, and then I got rid of it because it was causing a bug. But I think it's about time we get back to making normals behave, because right now sprites just either become fully apparent or fully in shadow, which is not great. So yeah, let's kind of talk about agendas. Some conspiracy theory, dark society agendas for this stream. Let's sit here. Let's sit here and relax on this edge. So let's write stuff down. Because like as they say, the shortest pencil is longer than the longest memory. And to-dos. So some nice to-dos. We're gonna group them into technical and then design. So on the technical side, reintroduce normal maps and maybe even make a custom sprite shader. I want to start making a game. I wrote a terminal rendering engine, just rendering screens mostly for ties, okay, in Java. I'm not sure what ties are, but the whole render method just returns a string, so I could theoretically make a cool ASCII game. Okay, I mean, that's cool. And honestly, that's kind of how you start. Like, at least that's how I started. Besides this game, I was working on a game engine. Actually, let me see if I find it here real quick. But yeah, I was working on a game engine, but the precursor to that engine was actually an ASCII game where I was just printing ASCII characters to the screen, and that was it. Yeah, this. So before we had graphics working for this game, look, this is in my game, my own personal game engine, right? Yeah, the Rust game engine, exactly, yeah. This iteration didn't start like this. It started with an ASCII game first, initially, where I started with just having the structure of entities and all this kind of stuff, and then, you know, how do we organize entity logic, updates, all that kind of stuff. And then from there, the next iteration was, okay, let's take the same structure, but actually attach it to a rendering API and have something visible on screen. But yeah, like that's actually not a bad way to start. You know, I went that direction, and turned out pretty good. Oh look, the lighting, you can see normal. Well, that's with the old. This is Unity's default rendering pipeline, which is not bad or anything, but you know, and you can see how normals behave there. It's not bad, but I'd rather make something saucy. May not even say saucy, but there's this thing where you can look at a game and you can kind of tell what engine it was made from just based off of how surfaces are rendered in the game. Just looking at screenshots. And there's nothing wrong with it, but I want this to feel like you're playing a game from an old console that's long outdated, and that console has weird artifacts due to whatever technical constraints of that console. There's something about playing games that have this weird, distinct restrictions to it that gives it a distinct feel, either like consciously or unconsciously. And I kind of like that idea, you know, that hey, maybe there's some weird jank, but it makes the game feel kind of unique in its identity, visually at least. And I hope that adds to a certain level of immersion, not in the sense of like, oh, this game is so real, I feel like I'm in it, but rather like this is such a specific experience I had. I'm not gonna have that anywhere else. Never fails to amaze me. I'm glad, thank you. I appreciate it. I need to do more art. In fact, actually, that's one of the things I wanted to do today. Actually, going back to the to-do list. But yeah, it's like, yeah, it's a lot more work because we're not using any Unity components for lighting at all. Like, if you look at all the way we do lights, like, it's so weird and custom. Like, all light sources, like for this one, for example, is Like it doesn't have a Unity light component. It has our cozy point lights as our component, and like the way we do fogs and everything. And it's a constraint, and it makes things sometimes more limited because I didn't implement it like that, right? Implemented with those limitations in mind. But I think it makes things far better and distinct, and just adds that sense of identity. Yeah, like this light source, for example, like that. This is a cozy point light. I can change the intensity. I can change the radius, and even the way the light propagates out is different because like it actually works per vertex lighting too, and super. I feel very happy and proud with this. But yeah, going back to things to do though. So this is the technical stuff. This would be good to do. Another technical thing is that we have this issue in the game where if you go to the boss battle, in fact, let's go there. Let's go take a field trip to our little boss battle guy. Meow meow meow. And then we're gonna skip over these enemies, which by the way, we should need to design some new enemies because I don't think these guys quite work with what I have in mind, or maybe they do. Maybe they work fine actually. Nope, couldn't make it. Come on. There we go. Oh, that's another big bug. Okay, we have to make a list because I'm gonna forget a lot of stuff. There's a performance bug where this custom collision thing I have sometimes lag spikes. Well, that's the other thing too, is like by taking this liberty of doing our own custom lighting, we can actually make things more performant in some cases, or in actually a lot of cases, which is helpful if I'm trying to because I'm also trying to make this game work on web, right? It's not just for beefy gaming machines, but also for web, and ideally, I have this really crappy laptop that only has like 2 megabytes. 1 second. I know I have it here. 1 second. Yeah, here we go. Not megabytes. I have this laptop right here, and I talked about this when I was doing my my game system, or my game engine. This laptop has like 2 megabytes, or no, not megabytes, 2 gigabytes of RAM, and it gets filled up pretty easily. There's only so many applications you can open up, like I think 3 or 4, depending on how intensive they are, before you max it out and it crashes. So it's very restrictive. It's very restrictive. But it's cool because if I can make a game work well on this laptop and run, I know for a fact it's gonna run good on every other machine. And it's gonna run good on Android and whatever, right? Like it's a guarantee. And that's the thing I did with the game engine, and that's what I did with this. Does the player entity face only 4 directions, or does that have a specific yaws? Yeah, so the player direction, there's an interesting thing we're doing there. But yeah, optimizations. So like little things like pre-computing some basic lighting and having the player having that just be a resource loaded. I mean, it doesn't help in terms of memory, but you know, processing is also another commodity we have to be careful for. But yeah, going back to your question, does a player entity face only 4 directions? So if we look technically at what's going on here, and when you say face, that's kind of a ambiguous term, because there's kind of 2 types of facing. There's like the direction the sprite is facing, like what's being depicted, but then there's the actual geometry that's being oriented in 3D. So let's take a look. Let's take a little tour of how the player controller works. We're gonna turn off this. So if you look, you'll see that there is a single quad that this sprite is being drawn onto, right? A single quad, and that quad is always going to be facing the camera. So no matter how we rotate around in the world, let's even do this, you're going to see that the quad is always moving to the camera. But you're going to notice this weird thing. If I turn further enough, the player sprite changes to still kind of be facing that x-axis, that red arrow, right? So you go here, it's facing the red arrow, and then it goes to the back, it's going to be facing towards that. So that's a separate component, right? So in terms of the geometry, the quad is always facing the camera. But the actual sprites are always being updated to be consistent with where the last vector was inputted in terms of world space. So we have a thing where it's like, hey, we record, the player saves the last input of the player, not like in terms the last input in terms of world space, like in the world XYZ coordinate system. And then based off of that, we can have a collection of 4 sprites, and then we choose the correct sprite set for that. And that applies not only for the stance, but for running as well, for all these different types of behaviors. It's all relative to the last input world vector. And that's important because, like, you know, it's not only important for in terms of normal camera movement, but like for little cinematic moments, we have to, where the camera's moving around, we have to have the player sprite be updated to represent that accurately. So let me go to an actual cinematic moment. And I have to adjust the heights of these things because I forgot that the player doesn't have double jump at this point of the game. Or maybe they do. But I want the player to be able to access this area without the need for double jumping. So we're going to see here, we're going to enter a cinematic, and you're going to see the player sprite change. So the camera pans out, we see this character, and then they have their dialogue, and now the player is actually showing you a side profile instead of being like this. You see them to the side. And it's the same principle. Cache the last input in world space, and we select our sprites based off of that. Scary. Scary. I'm scared. So this is the other bug we have to fix. The enemy doesn't stop the boss battle once you die. So we kind of have to have the boss reset their behavior once the player dies. And that includes resetting the music, all that kind of stuff. A lot of considerations there. So yeah, that's a high level understanding of what's going on. There's even a very simplified version of this. Let's see here. I think there's like a sprite utility thing I wrote. Sprite utility? No, that's Unity sprite. No. I don't want Unity sprite stuff. I want my sprite stuff. Let's go to the player. There's something here. 1 second as I navigate this Pascati code. Pascati. I think at some point I want to try experimenting with stateless and using that for state management, but until then we're just working with frickin' enums and, I mean, you have to use enums anyways, and enums and a bunch of switch statements. Let me see if I can find where that thing happens. One moment. Un moment, por favor. There's a place where we do this. Or we set the correct sprite state. This is turning into a little code review, isn't it? Player state probably happens here. I think I made even an extension. Here we go. Sprite render, set sprite from direction. Cool. Super simple. We have this static class. I made a custom thing called a Cozy Cabin Sprite Renderer. It just basically like displays a sprite on a quad, and you can make it animated. So instead of showing the sprite sheet, you only show a certain quad, and you can move that quad along. Anyways, but in general, it just takes a state sprite set, which if you look at it, it's just, hey, I need a sprite sheet for when the player's looking forward, down, up, down, left, right. In our case, forward, backwards, left, right. Every single state the player can be in should have that, because, you know, if the player's attacking, the camera can be in different positions. They could be facing the camera, they could be facing the left, or the right, or the back. So we have to have these 4 sprites available per state. Super simple idea. And then aside from that, we were given the world space direction and the camera controller. Basically just a reference to the camera that the sprite's looking towards. And then from there we can do some math. Have you done any game jams? Brother, I was born in game jams. I was molded by game jams. I went to game jams when I was like 14. It was the place where I got exposed to a lot. Well, I got exposed to a lot of these different things, but actually not these different things. Most of my experience in game jams was doing art and music. Programming is something that came, like I always did programming, but I kind of was shy about it, and I didn't want to do it because I felt like I was super inferior. And only way later in my 20s was I actually doing more serious programming. But yeah, no, I used to do a bunch of game jams. The thing is though, for me recently, I'm not really too privy to do game jams because like game jams are great if you want to get some new experience, if you want to check out a new idea. They're really cool, and if you're like kind of not as exposed to games in general, like it's a deeply fun and enriching experience. But for me currently, the things I want to do are the things that are tied to longer projects. Like there's certain problem spaces you can only explore once you get to a certain point. So I think a better way to describe this, and I've mentioned this with a couple people, so much of my game dev experience has been with the low-level kind of concrete elements of game making. You know, how do you make art, and how do you make good art? How do you make music? How do you do code and get your logic to do what you want it to do? So a lot of my time was focused on wrestling with those things, and that's all well and dandy. And only now that I'm comfortable and confident within those different lower, like, concrete elements is now the point where now I'm actually facing the next level, which is game design. Making design decisions for mechanical or experiential elements of the game. And that's something I never really get to experiment or try my hand out because I'm usually focused on the other stuff. But now that we're over those humps of, you know, that learning curve for all those elements, now we can occupy that kind of design space. And it's not to say you can't occupy that within game jams. Like, you can totally just focus on design and certain stuff. But at least for me, the place where I can really explore this is within this more further along project. I think once this game gets finished, though, I would love to go back to some game jams and meet some people, maybe try some stuff. Yeah, it's been kind of crazy to go back to a game jam, because the last time I went to a game jam, I was still like I was like, what, senior year of college? Like, I was young, dumb, inexperienced. And there's a lot of things I wouldn't want to do because I just felt inadequate to do it. Whereas now I feel like I'm more willing to do like a crazy Hail Mary thing for for a design challenge. Or just for fun, I don't know. I think it'll be different. I'll get to see though. I'm also I feel like I've grown into kind of a control freak. So I have to see how well I collaborate with people. Oh yeah, I was doing stuff, right? Design. Level design. So I want to design some more stuff here in this level. There's this upper path the player can take that gives them this double jump ability, which I don't know why this is giving this error. That's not great. But yeah, we have this path here and then it leads here. And I want to flesh out this environment more. There's something I really like. I've been watching a bunch of videos about Gmod, Garry's Mod, and exploring old Garry's Mod maps that were like meant for RP or other stuff, but now are kind of abandoned. And it's cool playing those maps and seeing a sense of scale within them. And likewise, like I replayed the Stanley Parable recently, and then I also watched a friend play the Stanley Parable recently too. And one thing that kind of stuck out was the sense and scale of the environment and the kind of sensations you can get from a map, even if it's not very high fidelity. So that's something I want to experiment more and have some more interesting architecture in this game and spots. So yeah, that's the design task. Level design, flesh out alternative paths. The second design thing is characters. It's kind of writing as well, but there's some characters I want to add to this world and have some ideas for. So I have to do some character portraits, we have to do some stuff. It's not that crazy, but it's still something that needs to be done. Add NPCs, and there's some ideas I want to explore with them thematically. So we kind of need them to be present. So cool. Flesh out alternative critical paths. Let's say, maybe not critical, just alternative paths. Because as we see here, and let's turn off our fog for a moment. Let's turn off our fog, ladies and gentlemen. Ooh, gross. A naked level? Ew. What? There's a blue light that's been here, and I don't know where it is. I need to find it. It kind of bothers me. Are you the blue light? No, you're red. Oh. That's an issue. There's like a color inversion thing that's happening on the back faces. And that's what's causing this weird discoloring down here. Yeah, that's the problem. Okay, we found more lighting issues. Fun. But yeah, so this wall you see here is gonna go down when you beat that boss. And there's gonna be a couple of different paths to get to this side here. We need to start deciding what's gonna be occupying this space. We have this industrial area, and I think I want to explore more of that, but maybe in a different way. And there's also like there's some seafaring things I want to add here, like potentially even a lighthouse. I love lighthouses. I always thought they're really cool imagery to have. Meow, 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 meow. But yeah, as far as the level is kind of structured, I kind of want this to be a very somewhat cramped area that's kind of overridden with industry, but there's few pockets where nature can kind of flourish and grow in spite of it. Up here, it would be nice to have it be more exposed to nature, maybe have some very open architecture. And over here, go in the opposite direction of this is significantly much more dense, has less sense of identity. I don't know. Well, we'll see. We'll play around with this and just see what kind of sticks out. I kind of want to try to architect this over like at the high level, but maybe this is one of those things where we don't architect it, instead we just water the garden and see how things grow, right? It could very well be that case, or instead of trying to force it or control every aspect of it, we just kind of let things happen and try to make something we want to have. So we got that going on here. So let's focus on this little critical path. And it's amazing how big of a difference fog adds. Because with the fog, without the fog, it's kind of hard to tell where things are. It's like gauging distance becomes a bit more difficult, far more difficult, honestly. But we add that fog back in. Ooh, all of a sudden depth becomes so much more easier for the player to parse and to navigate. It's beautiful. Alright, but first of all, let me actually fix this bug here, because that's actually very problematic. Ability utilities. And it's happening, it's being thrown where? So the player enters double jump, case 0. Let's actually look at this. Ability system. Generate name, get level. So it has the value, return the value, if not it's 0. Well, that's interesting because U should be a value of 0. And yet that's not what happens necessarily. Interesting. Interesting. And a bit concerning. It's okay, we'll live, we'll figure it out. We'll adapt, overcome. Like Bear Grylls. My hero. A man who inspires many to drink their pee. Drink their own pie. Are you gonna be mad? No, you're not mad. Very cool. And we even have like a fallback thing. Very nice. Now, why are you failing? Why are you the disappointment of the family? It wasn't meant to be this way. Didn't have to be this way. But you made it this way. Okay. That should hopefully fix that. These are the power-ups. They're going to be scattered across the level. I need to think about the different power-ups. There's some more ones I want to add. I'm also debating about if I want to add HP power-ups. I almost kind of don't want to do that. But I don't know, we'll see. So we have this. Let me press play so I can reset the miasma levels. Come on, buddy. There we go. Now we can see how it looks. How it's intended to look. That is to say. And I've been trying to use primitives to keep things very simple. I almost feel tempted to start making some custom modeled stuff. Because this is cool and everything. But I want something a little bit more different. I don't want things to feel too samey. Also, let's start making some custom textures. Because I've been using the same concrete texture for everything, and that's fine. That's cool. But we could really use something better. Or not something better, something different. So let's make a new 32 by 32 sprite. And we shall do tile on both axes. And then you are what? I think you're actually 64 by 64 if I'm not mistaken. If I'm not mistaken, this should actually be 64 by 64. Yes, indeed, it is 64 by 64. Wow. So, and maybe we scratch this and then make a new one and make it 64 by 64. Just so we can add a little bit more detail. And let's think about this environment. What kind of textures do we want to have here? This is kind of crusty and dusty. Maybe it'd be good to have this open so I can actually reference the color palettes that we're using. Or at least some of the color tones that are being utilized here, which I believe we're not using. I believe this one. Oh, we're using the dark one. Okay. Never mind. So we are indeed using this one. We'll get rid of this. Or actually, we're going to make it low opacity. Or better yet, meow, meow, meow. This is actually my preferred strategy. I need to finish my pixel art slide. I've been thinking a lot more about lighting and I've been thinking about lighting and how it's done within 3D contexts and how that translates to pixel art principles. I just need to finish translating that to PowerPoint slides. So what is going to be the next surface we want to add here? We have these large concrete constructs. let's take a little bit of inspiration from our old pal, Half-Life 2 architecture. Because I think this game is very, it feels very Half-Life 2-ish almost. In vibe at least. Well, actually that's like normal. I want to see industrial. There's something very interesting about how inhuman the industrial architecture for Half-Life 2 is, with the combines, which makes sense, like alien life forms and all that kind of jazz. Yeah, that's that good stuff. There's something about that I want to explore, like how inhuman industry can be. There's also some good Gmod maps too that, I mean, I guess technically Gmod maps are kind of taking the same assets, right? But I don't know. Let's try exploring and adding some variety to this. There's a really good book called, what was it? There's a YouTube channel called Practical Engineering that is really cool for learning about why, and like what are these things we see in everyday life that is common to civil infrastructure, and what exactly they are and how they work and what's their purpose and how that all ties together with different things. It's super interesting because you don't realize how much infrastructure we take for granted in our day-to-day life and how much engineering is involved with even the most minute of things we engage with. And yet, without them, you would notice them immediately, instantaneously even. We're gonna add some stains from these. Because there's something I always kind of notice, that there's like, on big buildings where there's like sharp ledges or you can kind of, they haven't been maintained for a while, they start having this weird kind of bleeding effect. Or there's like some schmutz that just kind of trails off. Like even common buildings, like even non-industrial buildings like churches, I've seen them have this thing happen to them, which is very kind of odd and interesting. Because I'm like, what is that? Why is it there? And how would you even clean it off? Because sometimes it's very hard to reach those areas. It's very cool though. It's very cool. There's also other games like The Last Guardian that has interesting imagery like this too. Or they really dial into that sense of scale that I'm kind of referring to. That is kind of puts a sense of awe into you. How do you want to deal with this highlight? That seems more like pillow shading. Do you want to have a lip to this where this kind of extends and protrudes outward? That's a very critical question to ask ourselves. A very critical question to ask ourselves. Do we like this? Maybe. Maybe we like this. Potentially. This is debatably likable in my eyes. One thing I do notice, there's a distinct difference between like my assets I'm making versus the assets for like PS1 games, is that they definitely take the liberty of using way more colors. Like I'm treating this like pixel art, and a lot of PS1 games treat their texturing not like pixel art, but instead are like scanned in versions of real images and then kind of processed to work at the low resolution. Which is something I may have to try to adapt and change about our current sprites, because I'm still treating them like pixel art. And maybe that's fine, maybe I should keep it like that. Because I think in some sense it's kind of a bit interesting. Because the game almost kind of feels in a certain way like an old Final Fantasy 1 or Dragon Quest game, where you have these discrete tiles for a lot of the environment, and the player is kind of a sprite-based character who's walking across these discrete tiles. So it kind of fits. But at the same time, we have these large geometries that are kind of protruding through the world, which are kind of breaking up and partitioning these tiles out. So I don't know. Maybe we do a little bit of both, column A, column A, and column B. I don't know. There's a lot of freedoms we have at our disposal here. Also, my phone is kind of dying, isn't it? Yes, it is. Yes, you are. 9%. That's no bueno. That's no bueno. Do I have my, do I perchance have my... Perchance. Do I have a USB-C here? I had my charger, but we had to take it yesterday. Somewhere now. I don't know where it is. It's probably dirty. Yeah, it's whatever. We live without it. We have lived without phones. I can continue to live without it. What are we gonna do here though? Maybe add some color here, kind of indicating that this is kind of protruding out. These tiles, they're not necessarily flush, but are instead kind of imperfect. It'd be kind of cool to have the terrain painting thing I have, the tile painter thing, not only for the terrain, but also for the 3D geometry. That'd be super sick. That'd be so cool, dude. That'd be so freaking cool. I'm not sure. I have no idea how you'd go about implementing that. Or I guess I have some idea, but I don't know. I'm not sure how practical it would actually be. Yes, this looks very nice. This is probably not aligned to... Yeah, that's very much not aligned with anything. This is very off. I guess it doesn't matter because it's gonna tile anyways, but... Though, this did seem to be largely aligned. First of all, let's move this up. Then remove this to the side. Yeah, we actually got a perfect 64 by 64. Like, it actually is 64 by 64. It's just off by a little hair. But the actual size is correct. That's pretty cool. That's definitely not intentional. I'm not sure how we got that to happen, but I'm happy with it. That we achieved that. What's going on here? Oh, I guess it's supposed to be like that. I guess? Yeah, I'm just missing one pixel there, yeah. Okay. We have something. We have a new texture. Though I feel like we should add more variance to it because it feels a little too... This feels very distinct. Okay, let's go add this to... Export this to... Oh, I don't know. Messy Mansion assets, level assets, Summerland, which is not as summery as it once was. Before we made this level very green and very, very idealistic almost, and now it's very dark and industrial, and there's still some green in it, but the greenery is growing in spite of the industry that's kind of dominated this. Mindstorm, what's going on? Or Mindstorm, what's going on? How are we doing today? Export this as, I don't know, T concrete. Concrete 3. .png, export. Why does he have that account? Just found your channel, very relaxing. I'm glad. That's the intention. I desire for it to be cozy. Why does he have that account? Why do you say he has that account? Is there significance to Mindstorm? Alright, let's move this down. Bring it here. Well, actually, no, we're gonna delete this. Bring it down. Smoosh it. Bring it down here. And then extend it a little bit. And then let's find this concrete 3. Apply it. Okay, that looks terrible. That's not working. Okay. My blood's acting like I didn't send him it. Will you send me? Wait, what? You sent me this before? Mine's an open source, lightweight Minecraft server built from the ground up. Wait, did you send this when we had the... Oh, you sent it in my channel? Oh, sweet, thank you. Mucho appreciated. That's sick. I've low-key been thinking about picking up Minecraft again and doing... Because in the old server, we had a Minecraft server. And low-key, it's been kind of popping in my mind to revisit it. Dude, you have like... This looks so much like I don't know why he has that Twitch account. That's pretty wild. It's like a game engine for Minecraft. That's pretty sick. Dude, this is kind of nuts though. Because it's like... you have the same branding as JetBrains. Or this has the same branding as JetBrains. Like, it feels like Minecraft if it had an IDE. Sick. Lightweight, community, modern, high performance, multi-threaded. Multi-threaded, that's pretty good. Pretty cool. It's a VitePress site. VitePress? Wow, wowzers. Okay, actually, I have an idea. So I'm gonna pose this to you. So we have this current Cozy Cabin Games website. It's alright. It's fine. I mean, there's some issues. It doesn't adapt well for mobile, but whatever. It works. It's adaptive. It's responsive. It's cool. I've been thinking, what if we make a fictional... Because this game is taking place in a fictional console, right? Which we have not named yet. But what if we make a fictional console with a fictional OS and call it Cozy OS? And what if the website was like the PS1 or PS3 home screen, where instead of just a stock website like this, you instead are given an interface kind of like this. And it's as if you're logging onto this fictional console to interact with our game system. And then like our games would be pop up in this tab here, and we can have like, it'll show like information there, and then if you want to play it, we can actually include the web GL, the web GL stuff there, so that you can actually play it there. Like, that'd be great, like having the demos available, because we have Messy Mansion. It's gonna be on web too, right? Like, there's a version of the game that's available like this. So like, imagine if the website was like that. Where you're just given access to like, we go hard into the idea of, hey, this is the Cozy console with the Cozy OS. Right? The UI was so great. I loved this era of the UI and how customizable it was. And then if you had custom themes, you can also change it. We peaked here, and it's just been downhill. It's very tragic. That'd be neat. All right, sweet. High key, I think I'm gonna because this is using, I wrote like a custom framework for this, a custom TypeScript framework, which is all right. It's not the most performant thing. It's not WASM. I'm sorry. This is good old JavaScript. So without hardware acceleration, and if you have a kind of bad device, it's gonna perform badly. But I could actually leverage this to do something goofy. PS3 and PSP. Yeah, the PS3 and PSP was peak. That was my favorite. That was my console. That's what got me into making games and pixel art and all this kind of stuff. Okay, I'm gonna think about this. I'm gonna go into Miro. No, not Mirror. Miro. Oh, you forgot my account already, dude. So many accounts. So many accounts. So many alternative accounts. Yeah, we're gonna go to Miro. Yeah, that's a search engine that plants trees. Also, I have a problem. I have a lot of tabs. I have a lot of emotional support tabs, and this is not all of them either. There's one there. There's one there. There's this one here that I'm using to monitor stream that has a lot too. I have a problem, man. And there's the other vertical one, and then I have like multiple Git bash terminals for managing the project state. It's kind of crazy how cluttered this can be. Like, how many do I have open right now? Is only 2? Okay, I thought there was 3. Yeah, we only have 3 or 2. Yeah, I like using Occasia. It's nice. They make me feel like I'm doing something good, and also don't feel like I'm being spied on as much. Still happening, but I just don't feel as. Oh, I need to upgrade. Ew. Okay. Anyways, we're gonna add Cozy OS to this idea. We're gonna make Cozy OS happen, guys. It's gonna be beautiful. It's gonna be beautiful. Cozy OS. I need to think of a name for the console though. Like Cozy Console. Like that's the Cozy Station. Maybe, kind of. That's kind of cool actually. Cozy Station. I don't know. But it doesn't have that game element to it. This requires some brainstorming. Maybe I should make it like a poll in the Discord or something. Let's rotate this around, because this is not doing what I need it to do. Rotate clockwise. There we go. And then this is supposed to be, what, 8, I believe? And let's also make this be BBs. Mark, we can be bees. And now we have sharp pixels, and the pixels are slightly too big. I believe they're slightly too big. Or maybe they're not. Maybe it's just a perspective thing because it's further out, so there's like foreshortening that's occurring. Okay, we move this here like so. Very cool. This needs a little bit more noise though. It's not dirty enough. Cozy 64, that's a good one. That's a good content. Okay, you know what? 1 second, let me go to the Discord. Where is the ideas channel? Alright, fictional, cozy cabin, games, fictional, console, name, ideas, Cozy Station, Cozy 64. We had a 60. Our fictional game has a 64-bit register. Okay. Well, I have to think. There's like Sega has some interesting naming conventions based off of like, well, they had the Genesis, Saturn, so they went from like, I don't know, like Latin for the beginning to like planets. Dreamcast. Actually, they're like all over the place. They're like all over. I don't know. Ideas are welcomed, or suggestions are welcome. Also going to convert cozycabingames.com into a fictional OS like PS3. Call it Cozy OS. I should really learn WASM though. I should really learn some WASM. I keep preaching about wanting to have performance. Why not just do the thing? Why not just make it performant? Yeah, there's too much white space. That bothers me. I don't like me no white space. So we're gonna add some dirt, a little bit of dirt here. What is wrong with JavaScript? It's just not performant. JavaScript is not performant. I guess like, and maybe it's not like that technically impressive because for what we're doing, it's actually not, like honestly, it's not going to be that crazy because at the end of the day, for this kind of thing, it's just a couple image elements and then, you know, whatever canvas for whatever game we're going to be rendering. At most, there's like some graphic stuff I want to do, but that's still going to be more on the WebGL side of things. It's not too intensive here. So I guess there's not that much of a need for it, but I'm like, if I'm writing this whole thing from the ground up, why not try to make it a little bit optimized? And I mean, and we can even like, because I've been wanting to one thing I want to do is like have a little project to figure out, to get back to C++ and maybe even, probably just start with C++ and just figure out a basic rendering API like OpenGL. So that'll be good. So okay, here's a big thing, right? I'm making a game engine. Like that's something I've been doing before this game, and then after I finish this game, I'll likely want to continue working on my own proprietary game engine. And the eventual goal is, the current version of the game engine is written in Rust, but with the rewrite I'm doing, I'm actually want to do it in C++, and likely even Vulkan. But before I commit to starting that rewrite in this new language and new graphics API, I'm gonna have to do some kind of expedition mini projects before that are smaller in scope, self-contained, so I can get familiarized with both C++, which is not that unfamiliar for me to be honest. I've done stuff with it before, and also like this graphics API, right? And the reason it's kind of critical why I want to do WASM is because eventually, for this game engine I'm going to make in the future, I want it to support multiple platforms. I want it to be able to use this game engine to not only export for Windows and Linux, but also for web, right? So trying to do this within WASM would be a great experience to just getting exposed to that and what's involved in making that build pipeline happen. So as far as this project is concerned, do I really need WASM? Not really. For the scope of what's being done here, it's not that needed at all. But in the grand scheme of things, it would be beneficial for me to actually do that route. Like the WASM runtime, does it really call a JS function? JS function, I thought it called native browser functions. Yeah, so like the binding for WebGL, I believe, does that. But for the actual structure or the state that you're maintaining and running with, it's still JavaScript. At least for the stuff that you're compiling in TypeScript and the way it would be organized. More like a layer between JS and any other language. Honestly, you know what? I'm not even too familiar with it. Like I know there's some stuff that makes JavaScript faster, like the V8 and whatnot, but I'm super uninformed as far as web dev is concerned. I just know that WASM go burr. It's used for intensive applications, and it allows me to do C and C++ and other low-level languages in the web browser. And that's the other thing too, is because Rust, I like Rust, but I mean, it kind of there's issues with Rust, but yeah, the WASM support, at least the last time I worked with it, was just not up there yet. It was not at the place I wanted it to be. Look at this. Look at this cool thing you can do in Aseprite. I can select this, Control B, and now we can just paint. Oh, 1 second. align to source. And I could just do this. Look how nice this is. Oh baby. I remember doing pixel art in Game Maker with their default thing, and loathing when I did dithering, because it would require so much time to try to make it aligned. And if you're doing something far away, it was like, I'm just gonna give up on trying to make it aligned to the source. Whereas here we can just boop 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 boop. Beep 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 beep. Beep beep beep. For getting started with pixel art and making stuff look good in a small scale. Yeah. So there's some. Oh brother, you've activated a trap card. You don't even realize it. You just activated a trap card. So there's a general thing. Oh, 1 second. So this is pixel art independent. The biggest ticket to improvement is just iterating through a bunch of stuff. Just iterating. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to do it. There's a more extensive explanation we could go on, but TLDR, if you get hung up on trying to make a single piece perfect, you're not going to get there. And it's going to kind of handicap your growth. Because when you start a piece, there's a limit to how good it can get. But every time you start a new piece, that limit, if you're practicing intentionally, should it be increasing. So iterate as much as you can, do quick doodle sketches in pixel art, and see and try to improve from there. That's one general thing. There's more stuff involved here. I'm still working on this PowerPoint slide, so it may look like garbage and illegible to people. But as far as just general improvement stuff, actually, we're not going to go through this. We're not going to do the lecture today. I keep saying we're going to do the lecture. I need to finish this up before I do it, though. For self-guided stuff, pixel joint, art of pixel art. Let's see if I can find it. Has a good basic article with that stuff. Is this for your students or people you've mentored? Yeah, I've done this. There's a talk I gave. Like I did little lectures for the art club at my old university, and I'd go do that, and then now I just kind of give it to random people. Or if I'm mentoring students, we'll go through this. Pixel art. Where is the pixel joint article? Did they get rid of it? I'd be very sad if... Okay, the pixel art tutorial. So there's this. I'm gonna link this to you. It's an oldie but a goodie. Pixel Joint's a really cool website that's focused on just pixel art, and a lot of people post their art there. You can get a lot of feedback there, at least back in the day. I'm not sure how it is nowadays. And it gets more into some of the nitty-gritty of, hey, what is pixel art? What are some techniques? How do they look like? What differentiates pixel art from traditional art? Yada, yada, yada. This stuff is very applicable even for small-scale art. So this is resources. One general thing I am going to talk about, though, that should help, or like they should keep in mind, is going to be lighting. And unfortunately, this is the part of the lecture that I'm still working on. When people work on pixel art, it's very easy. I just kind of want to just do the lecture. Okay. So when people do pixel art, a lot of times they just think it's unlit. Lighting and adding detail is tricky for me. Yeah, so that's gonna be a thing you have to. That's definitely a big thing. Out of curiosity, before I even start spouting information, is there any particular art styles you're trying to emulate? Is there a particular artist or games that you're trying to achieve that same style? Which I think understanding where your goal is going to help inform what we talk about. That's not to say that this information isn't pertinent or valuable. but we can at least focus on the things that are closer to what you're trying to do. But like Celeste. Okay, let's take a look at Celeste. I remember that game. And you're talking not only about the character, right, but you're talking about the environment too. Okay, let's save this. Can I copy image, please? Oh my goodness. Epic Games, why can't I just copy the image? Yeah, I guess. Not to the Minecraft thing. Okay. So let's take a screen cap of Celeste. Okay, I'm gonna copy this image. Now this is not that as crazy. I don't have to go too much in the weeds. There's still some basic idea of lighting, but it's super duper simplified. And then what resolution is this at? How many pixels? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 6 times bigger. So we're gonna do like canvas sprite size. What is the math? No. There we go. Cool, and this is a 1-to-1 native resolution for this. And let's take a look at the resolution the characters are like in. So roughly about a super tiny 16, like almost 16 by 16. It's likely a 16 by 16 character grid. So yeah, super duper bite-sized, nothing that crazy. 2 ways we can kind of think about this. So one thing, lighting is kind of still a factor, but it's gonna be very different. Especially with these side things, you're gonna end up probably making it. I'm not sure what you're specifically trying to do here, but even for like stuff like this, lighting's a bit different. So traditionally, you think about lighting where you have a scene, you choose your light source, and then everything's being lit consistently with that one light source. In Celeste's case, it's a bit different. There's kind of 2 different levels of lighting, but as far as the pixel art itself, it's actually doing things a bit differently. So the light source is always going to be outside of whatever surface they're going for. And a very simple way is just having like the outermost pixel be the one that receives most of the highlight. You're not seeing it consistently have all that light there, but it is still like the highest in terms of contrast. One thing though that would help with just coloring and choosing your palette is gonna be this idea of hue shifting. So they do it here quite a bit. So a lot of novice pixel artists do this thing where they go, okay, I am gonna make this ball, let's say. So we have this ball and we're gonna make it lit. So let's make a darker color. So we're just gonna take this yellow color and make it darker. Just bring that down. Take the value, bring it down a little bit. Cool, and now we can make the shadow. Cool, and then if you want to have it a little bit darker, we're gonna do the same thing, just lower down the value. I did this a lot when I first started. But you might notice that the color feels very, very, I don't know, kind of muddy, murky. If I take this color here, and I try doing the same thing, let's say we're gonna try drawing like a surface for a floor where this is the top, and then, I wanna make it a little bit darker. So we're gonna yoink this, bring the value down, do that, and then keep doing that. You're gonna kind of have the same weird effect where it feels kind of dry. And if I were to bring this here and compare it with here, it feels off. But why is this? I did hear about making it slightly colder, warmer tone when making a shadow. Yeah, and also playing with saturation. So going back to here, slider. Yeah, I call this hue shifting. I'm not sure what there's a term for it specifically. But you see this in showcased here, where you have like this left side where we're just using the base color and we're just changing the value, and you end up having that's not something that's not as contrasted or doesn't have very it has a very dry color tone. Whereas here you can see that we're using the same values, but we're changing the hue. So that's what you're describing, is kind of changing the color tone from warmer to cooler. That's one element to it too. The other thing is that you have saturation to play around with too. In this case, we're also shifting, as we shifted towards warmer colors, we also saturated. So your color path is going to be curved. Now you can go and do a bunch of different shapes and you can play around with it, and you can get very different results. But at the end of the day, right, this serves to add additional contrast, not only in terms of value, but contrast in hue and contrast within saturation, which just makes it pop out more. So that's one element of that. If that's not something you're not doing yet, or you are aware of, that's just an extra tool in your pocket to have. A lot of these pixel art games especially do that, especially when it comes to tile sets that kind of fade to a black outline. You see it all the time, not only with like wood, but other kind of colors. So that's one element here. Outside of that, this is very simplified. Like, there's not much room for doing too much complex textures. You can see some textures here with the wood. Let's look at some other screenshots to see if there's anything that's going on here. I know in later Celeste stages, there's more interesting color theory that's at play. You kind of see that here with the snow too. From white, hue shifting down to blue, it's colder. Even the browns are actually kind of hue shifting towards the colder side. So if you look at the other one, this is brown color, but it's hue shifting towards warm colors. Here you have hue shifting towards colder colors and less saturation. Yeah, here there's a lot of crazy color stuff going on here, and more interesting texturing things. Yeah, let's actually take a look at this too. Boop, boop, boop. New layer. Yeah. A lot more interesting stuff going on here. And a few more things that are kind of consistent with lighting. Though again, they kind of break some ideas, where they're kind of saying, hey, we're not going to do consistent lighting to prioritize affordances to the player. So like maybe if you're doing accurate lighting, these bottom pixels would not be lit. But since you're trying to communicate that this is a wall that you can grab onto, they likely made it like that. But yeah, here you're seeing a lot more texturing at play, which is pretty cool. Texturing for the ground, texturing for here. Always love doing that kind of stuff. So there's kind of two main primary things that are at play, which is the color that you're using here, which are not too crazy. They're actually not like complementary or triadic or anything. They're all kind of focused on the same kind of color groups. So the most nuanced thing here would be texturing. I'm not sure how much texturing you've ever done, or if that's something you practice with. But if it's something you're trying to do, then yeah, you kind of want to start grinding with that. And it could be as simple as just picking up like, hey, let's look at some real life textures for materials, and then how do we try to recreate that in pixel art. Certain things are going to have certain properties. So like with metals, they're going to have a certain type of behavior with sheen versus diffuse materials, which are going to be much more solid and consistent in their lighting. In fact, that's kind of a thing down here. Or you have the idea of like roughness and smoothness, where materials that are very smooth don't have very sharp highlights, but are kind of evenly distributed in terms of their colors, whereas the smoother they get, the more this highlight becomes apparent, which that term is called, let me find it, specular, I believe. Yeah, I need to add a slide here with the not technical, with the example of that information so we can mix. In fact, one second, let me go to my work stuff. Apology if this is not as organized and if it's not directly targeting your inquiry. Hopefully you get something from this in this little mess. Let's see. I sent this to myself because I was like using this. Here we go. Copy image. Okay. Okay, and then we can go back to where we were before, which is... Did I delete this? Oopsie. Okay, add new slide. The background is wrong. Pardon me. Okay. Yeah. Specular. Get rid of this. There we go. So yeah, so this is much more like an HD thing, but you see it apply within pixel art quite a lot within your texturing. Where like you can look at a basic material and kind of decompose it in one way to three components, which is like like the ambient lighting, which is kind of like the sum of all the light sources kind of around the object, or even just like the base color. Then you have the diffuse, which is like the light that's contributed directly from the light source, and then you have the specular, which is like kind of like the peak reflectivity of it, which kind of creates that illusion of sheen or the absence of sheen. And this you see all the time in game engines when it comes to managing materials, but that concept also applies for pixel art. So here there's this example where you see it kind of applied, where the same kind of balls where you have one that's very not smooth, medium smooth, and high smooth, so you can kind of communicate that same thing here. And you kind of encounter that when you start doing texturing for different types of materials, because they're going to have the different variability of that. You know, even if you're dealing with something with grass, it's going to be something along one of these lines. Typically, I kind of do it here in the middle where it's like halfway sheen. But yeah, like it's something you kind of see applied in a bunch of different places, even from like low resolution pixel art like these two up here to even the high resolution stuff like these guys. Even this one that I promise is pixel art, even though it looks like an illustration. If you look, the pixels do contribute quite a lot to it. But yeah, that's also a thing that's applied here. How concentrated is the highlights from your light source going to impact it, and then, you know, how much environmental reflections are going to happen. So you look at this ball here with super smoothness, you'll see that there's not only this strong pointed highlight, but there's like a rim on the bottom side of it that's showing the brown be reflected onto there. Now, for Celeste, that's not too much of a consideration since they're more in the smooth or like medium smooth kind of category. But you still see it kind of happening with the highlights in these groups that are kind of coming up here. And you also see it a lot with this kind of color hugging. So like there's this thing you can do a lot where you can hug. You have like a highlight color, you have a shadow color, and you have a medium color. And then what's a good case for this? Let's see here. Let's say we're even trying to do like, I don't know, grass or something. Yeah, let's just try that. 3 colors, trying to communicate grass. We're gonna see how this goes. It's either gonna be a great example or not super applicable example. Let's make this a little bit brighter. So like, actually, not even that. You can do the pipe example for like Anton, which is like super low resolution. So you can have like a pipe, for example. And you can kind of choose how you use your highlights here, whether it's very distinct. In fact, we have to make this a little bit bigger to really convey this. Or honestly, even a brick would work here. In fact, I'm not, maybe I should just do a brick. Yeah. Maybe make it a little bit wider for us to work with. Anywho. But yeah, so like you can have like an edge that's just defined by like the highlight and the shadow. But you can use the darker color to kind of add a bit more nuance and depth to it and make it feel almost reflective. Or all of a sudden, like now it goes from being something that's kind of just solid to, oh, this kind of weirdly feels somewhat reflective in some ways. And if you really want to go in on that idea, you can use the highlight to convey that idea. And with textured stuff, like if you're doing metals or whatnot, that becomes a consideration. But that's another element to play around with. I'm sorry if I feel like I just dived into something else, but you kind of see it here with this, because I saw it with this material here where it's kind of odd, where it feels kind of glassy almost, where you have like this texture that's being defined here, but then you have the edges that are kind of highlighted, so it makes it feel reflective and kind of glassy. But that, okay, this is not really tangible, like it's turned into a diatribe. My bad, man. Anyways, going back to your original thing though, for textures, just use primitives, simple shapes like circles and triangles, and if you can, try to focus on using angles that work well with the medium, so usually like 45 degree, 33 degree angles, that kind of stuff. The less you're fighting the medium and the more you're working with it, the better it's going to look for your clarity. So even if you look at this stuff for their textures, even when you look at their textures here, you'll find that a lot of the shapes that you're using are very simplified things that are either built off of those 45 degree angles or are using like organic shapes like circles that are kind of built off of that. And of course they're using their simple color groups, highlights, medium, darks, that sort of thing. You're seeing how they have the mid-tone and the dark tone to kind of define the general shapes, and then occasionally here and there they're using this highlight color to accent and add that little pop of vibrance to it, kind of almost showing that specular stuff that we talked about earlier. You see that all kind of around, where you see the dark and mid-tones kind of composing most of the shape, and then maybe like 10 or 20% of the rest of it is the highlight. The highlight's never usually the most dominant thing, it's usually the things that's kind of used to accent and make it pop. So in the case here, it's used to define the edges, which is important for player affordance, making sure the player can understand where the boundaries of their shapes are. So that's one thing. There's also one other element here to consider, which is background versus foreground elements. Usually for your foreground elements that the player can interact with, you want it to have a bit more of higher contrast, that way it sticks out and pops out to the person. Whereas background elements, you don't want them to be too distracting, so usually you're going to have a low amount of contrast. If you look at the value range for the background elements, like even looking at this little window here, you're going to notice that the circle does not move that much, alright? The value range is pretty close for the most part. Whereas if you look at the value ranges for here, you see it jump like crazy all over the place. A lot of strong contrast across it. So background elements, low contrast. Your color groups should not be super distant from each other. They should be very similar so that the player doesn't confuse it for something that's interactive. Whereas foreground elements that the player can interact with, keep it contrasty and make sure the edges are well defined. So that's the two main things. And of course for the player character themselves, similar kind of idea. Have sharp defined edges for them. so they can pop from the background, and you want to abstract the shape. Keep it super simple. If you look at Celeste, she kind of just boils down to a circle and square, in all honesty. Circle here, and then a square for the body. That's intentional. You don't want complicated silhouettes for the character's hitboxes. You want it to feel very boxy and square, something that's very easy for the player to kind of predictably interact with. Likewise, the resolution's small, so any kind of detail you add to the character is going to be kind of hard to see. If you look at like how much space the character takes up in terms of screen real estate, it's not that much. Maybe a game like Messy Mansion, this game I can afford to make the sprites much more HD. In fact, they are technically much more HD. I mean, this character is roughly what, 16 by 16, whereas this character is like 32 by 32, if not more, 64 by 64 technically. But the player takes up a significantly larger real estate on screen versus her, and the player is always kind of. What is your game? I like that billboard art style. Thank you. Yeah, there's definitely more we have to work on here. But yeah, so for this type of game, I can afford to have more HD sprites because it's always kind of in a stable place and it's taking up more real estate from the player. So it depends on what kind of game you're making. Different kind of considerations to work about, to worry about. But I think if you look at those two elements, you kind of make a decision on what to do in terms of how you allocate detail, right? Detail is kind of an important thing to manage. And even here, like we have in-game cutscenes that make the player take up even more space. So you're going to be managing complexity, and depending on how much complexity you have available to you, you can either make the player more abstract or less abstract. It's going to be up to you. So to recap what we talked about in more simple, actionable things in relation to a game like Celeste, use simplified line shapes that work well with the medium, 45, 30 to 30 degree angles, 0 degree angles. Make background elements low contrast and similar in terms of color groups. Make foreground / interactable elements be high contrast with sharp defined edges. And make your character more abstract and simplified to, say, like a circle or square, especially as the amount of space they take on screen decreases. And as the player grows in terms of their screen real estate, you can afford higher complexity if you want to. Simple, general, actionable stuff. And then beyond that, there's the ideas of hue shifting, choosing your colors correctly, all that kind of stuff. It was interesting no matter what it's related to. Okay, cool, I'm glad. Yeah, I was like, all right, I'm kind of diving onto something that's interesting to me, maybe, but I'm not sure how applicable it is to you, depending on where you're at in terms of pixel art. Yeah, I need to work on defining this better. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. We're trying to, with this next iteration of this PowerPoint, I want to make it. I'm kind of tying in more engine / material related stuff, and tie in some more physically based rendering concepts to it. But we'll see. I need to make some more better examples. I also need to revisit this lighting stuff more, but we'll get there. We'll get there eventually. Anyways, hopefully that's your micro TED talk about pixel art techniques for Celeste type games, or just games in general. Oh no! Okay, there we go. I really want to make a 2D side-scrolling game. I haven't done one in such a long time. Gotta finish this game first. But I think the next one, if I do that, it'll probably be with my game engine, or pending game engine, with Where are you? Where are you? I want to show me. I want to show me a game engine. Come on. Knuckle dust. It's a cool idea. Cool sprites. Yeah, the custom engine thing. Likely be that. Though it kind of sucks. This game doesn't really use tile systems or tile maps or anything like that. It's using like handcrafted environments. Since it's meant to act more like a beat 'em up type game as opposed to like a platforming. I don't know. We might have to revisit it though. We'll see. We'll see what happens. There's so much room for possibilities. So many room for possibilities. Oh my goodness. But yeah, right now I'm happy with this game because I think I'm in a very big mood to kind of play around with scale and 3D architecture. There's some I love 2D games, but there's something that's very awe-inspiring about 3D worlds and environments, and something about it that sticks in your brain. Like there's a game called Babdi that I played a while back, and it's a very simple 3D game. But despite its simplicity and the short playtime I had with it, like I spent like an hour and a half or 2 hours and a half in it, like I had dreams about that game. Like that game still lives in my brain, which is pretty wild. Whereas like there's AAA games and experiences that don't quite do that. And there's 2D games I love that are very near and dear to my heart, but they just don't activate your brain in that same way because they're not a 3D space. They're not similar or analogous to the way we interact with the world. It's not a knock against them. I love them. It's just a fundamental thing. And there's strengths to it, right? Like there's a reason why there's 2D platformers are such a big and impactful thing, because 2D affords a certain level of control and precision and your spatial awareness that 3D games just can't do, just because of how much more information is presented in them. Like heck, even rotation in 3D is such a complicated matter, where you can use simple Euler angles for 2D applications and it's largely fine, but for 3D there's things you have to worry about, like gimbal lock and whatnot, and now you have to use mathematical constructs like quaternions to better represent 3D changes to avoid those limitations of Euler angles. And it's just because due to the extra dimension, right? Yeah, it's very interesting though. It's very interesting, and the game Babdi just kind of showed how, hey, you can make a game that's kind of impactful in a lot of ways that doesn't require that much complexity or that many mechanics or that many this or that. And playing the beginner's guide kind of reminded me that, hey, yeah, you can tell impactful things without with just like a walking sim. Like you don't have to have a crazy camera tracking system to tell a good narrative. I think that Gone Home has achieved the same thing, but I haven't played Gone Home, so I can't really say. I just know it's one of those big games that are popping off during the big narratologist versus ludologist debates of the 2016s or 2010s. That was a big thing. I don't know if you guys remember that at all. A humongous thing in terms of game design discourse. Alright, and then we're gonna rotate this again. Get rotated, nerd. Rotate counterclockwise, export, concrete 3. And this should look less. Oh, we have to actually get up there, don't we? Yeah, let's pause. Let's get out of the game. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, buddy. It looks pretty good to me so far. Oh, that's interesting. It's like actually, it's almost normal to the sun. So like you have this. That's cool. The lighting's actually somewhat straight. That's kind of crazy. Instead of jagged pixels. Wonderful. Next, I think this is using. Yeah, we have the idea of like either per pixel or per vertex lighting. So this is like lit per vertex, so you don't have as detailed of a shadow. But it's not, doesn't require that much work on each execution of the fragment shader. But you don't get as dynamic shadows and stuff like that. Alright, I like this surface a lot though. This looks very good. Let's keep doing this. So what's the next texture we should make? We should probably make, I'm thinking like there's like this, I see this in other games. Let's go back here. There's this. Am I hearing myself? Oh yeah, it's from there. Whoopsie. So we have the concrete slabs, that works fine. We have this interesting kind of drainage looking thing, that's cool. The pattern floor. That actually is kind of cool to have for some areas. Oh, you know what's a great example? There's this Portal mod called OSHA, like OSHA certified Portal, or Portal, but it's OSHA certified, which unironically is actually kind of informative for like making more realistic industrial environments. So like you have like handrails and a lot of the stairs, and you have warning signs in places, and yeah, Portal also has the checkered floor thing too for the ground. Maybe I should do that. Like have, instead of just a default concrete floor, actually have tiled something. Yeah, it's funny. The windows are breakable for emergencies. Like, it's making me fall asleep. It's all good, man. All good, man. I appreciate the company though. You have a good one, man. Oh yeah, and she has a hard hat too. Like, it's hilarious, man. And then there's like every single room has an exit too. I know the factory you built for this game is definitely not OSHA certified. And there's like vents and stuff there if you go into them. That's pretty cool. Yeah, actually, unironically, like this is, and then you have this steel grate. Yeah, like it's giving me already a bunch of ideas for different types of textures to add in the game. In fact, I think I'm just gonna do it right now. Like this cross brace surface for the internals, like that's actually good, I think. So we're gonna do that. And that seems pretty simple, if I'm not mistaken. Like it just, I might do 2 layers though. So what do they have going on here? They had this, they have the vertical one. In fact, we should make this mirrored. And then they had, oh, I got scared for a second. And then you have this. I should probably make this also mirrored. And then there's a certain thickness to it, which isn't that big. And then they also have this going on here. So that's cool. And then they have a highlight color for this environment. There and there. These metallic braces. Might try to make this a little bit darker. Darker. A little bit more colder. And what happened here? Why is this like highlighted now again? So this is gonna be like a highlight tone. Let's choose our dark tone. Which would do like something like this, I think. That works well, yep. That feels good to me. And then we can start worrying about texturing and detail. Detail. Like so. Very nice. And then we can start doing some more details like ambient occlusion. Ambient occlusion. Or faux ambient occlusion. Just add to like this contrast a little bit more. Maybe I'd make this darker too, but maybe make it darker via this here. Make this colder color tone and temperature. Yeah. And I do the same thing here. Maybe have some drop shadow going on. A little bit of cast shadow indicating, okay, this is actually lit in some form or fashion. And light's getting trapped in these interesting ways here. Yeah. Maybe have this happen here too. I wish I could zoom in more, but there's like some, it seems like it's a solid piece, but there's like variability in kind of the way it's stained a little bit. So I'm gonna be a little bit more liberal in terms of my color use and not use a restricted palette, but instead have a much more, maybe a bit more verbose color palette. To kind of show some variability, maybe even some wear. Very nice. And we even have this go all the way down a little bit. Now, we have a little question about the whole discussion we had earlier about specular and how smooth the surface is. Maybe we have that here. We can like make this, because it looks very rough, but we can make it a little bit smoother and have a little bit more specular highlights here and there to make this pop out a little bit more, have a bit more character. Yeah, gotta love to have character here. Man, I really do love doing this kind of texturing. It's very relaxing. Okay, we're gonna have this go up as well. Should probably check to see if this tiles correctly too, but I'm not too concerned with that yet. We'll get there when we get there. Right now my chief concern is making textures that feel good. Or I guess making steel beams that feel very solid. I'm not sure how these are joined together because they just kind of overlap, right? But I can't really see. Oh, I guess the vertical ones go over and then these cross ones go under. That seems to be what's going on here. So we'll do that. We'll just do that. Let's go under. This will be over. Very cool. Nice. I feel perplexed. I feel like I should make this actually be very defined and have a strong outline. Yeah, we'll just do that. Yep. Feels good to me. Yeah, I think we're just gonna move forward with having a strong defined outline for these braces. Bam, bam, bam. Cool. Have this color. It's kind of cool secondary color. I'll use a specular to kind of add even more contrast to this joint where it overlaps the bottom. Add some dithering here. Just make the surface feel a little bit more rougher and have a little bit more fine-tuned grainery, like grain details. But you kind of lose it because it's a vertical shape, but it's whatever. It's whatever. More. Go. Nice. Okay. Very cool. And add a bit more going on here. Yeah, add shadows to here where there's cast shadow that should be present. Okay. Let's just throw this in game and see how this looks. We're gonna go to assets, level assets. We're gonna go to Summerland. We're gonna call this T wall braze.png. Export it out. Let's go back to our game. Let's go to the more interior environments, such as here, let's say. It's very dark. And let's throw this onto here. Where's T wall braze? And you're gonna be tile space of what? Here we go. Yeah, you should be a tile space of 8. I do believe, I do concur. I do concur. It feels very dark. It really does not stick out much. Oh, because it's not doing per pixel, it's doing per vertex. Yeah. I was like, why is it so? Also, the resolution is too small. It has to be 64. There we go. That's the clarity we're looking for. I was like, why does this feel so muddy? It should be much more defined than that. Yeah, that big difference. Big difference there. That looks super good. Super freaking good. I can do some offsetting. Make it feel a little bit more purposeful, but that works fine. And then let me try yoinking some colors from here. So let's make this tile both on both axes, and we're gonna start adding this color accent. To a bunch of places. We're gonna select this. Maybe have this be more greenish color, because right now it's very red and blue. I think I'm gonna focus more on having this color be shifted more towards green. Yeah, that feels right to me. Instead of this warm red, we're gonna go for this cold green kind of look. I can use some darker colors while we're at it. I think we even use this color tone. In fact, I can even probably replace this with this and it'll be fine. Yeah. I also need to make a model, a 3D model of like a light, like a factory light type thing. It's weird that this is the highlight color. Almost makes me want to use like, make this even darker, just to have some additional contrast. And then have how does that look? Like by itself it looks kind of bad, but in this context it actually looks a little better actually. I don't know. We can use a little more contrast in this one though. Darker, saturated, a little bit more blue. Maybe less saturated actually. I don't like this base color. Feels a little too warm. A little more details here. Yep. More cast there. Yeah, sir. Yeah, I'm gonna make this a little bit more darker. A little bit more desaturated. That feels good to me. For now, I'm probably gonna be playing around with this a little bit more. What else is there? I think there is this vent too. That's also good to have. Let's have this other thing too. 64 by 64. In fact, I'm just gonna yoink this whole thing. Nope, paste. And then, what is it? Yeah, dark inside with a light outside. Seems good to me. Cool. Bring this around town. Nice. Nice. Okay, and then what do you have going on here? Yeah, so it's like a dark inner thing with like a more ambient occlusion happening in the edges, and a lot of scratches and dents happening in the inner side. There's a lot more noise going on here. And this is kind of fun because you can just make this very messy and it's fine. It's like perfectly fine and reasonable. Cool. Maybe indicate that some of the stuff in here is actually bright. Maybe not that bright, maybe a little bit darker, but still. Sharp edges here and there. Cool. Get more corners defined a little bit more. Have some of the darker colors persist and extend out a little bit. Keep doing it like so. We're going to do something a little bit radical. We're going to make this actually even brighter. Have highlights there, just kind of. Little glints here and there, just highlights that just kind of show, hey, either this has been dented a little bit, or maybe there's sun or light sources hitting it in just the right way, but this actually has a little bit of highlight colors to it. And then maybe even some nuance, like have some parts where a darker color kind of hugs up against the side of these things here. Oh yeah. Nice. That's just good art. That's just some good art. That's some good art, boy. Yes, sirree, Bob. Sweet. Export this out. Again, assets, level assets, Summerland. Metal tile 1, PNG. Okay, we go here. And then again, duplicate. Make this smaller. Move it here. Move it forward. Then we're gonna make, where's our metal tile? Throw that bad boy on there. Hit it with 8. Make this, oh, I don't know. Cool. And then of course, you make it like so, and then maybe you do a little bit of offsetting on it to make it like per vertex lit, or actually align good with per vertex. Like so, smaller. Okay, that seems to work well. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. You even have this around somewhere else too. Like down here maybe. Where there's like significantly more light sources. I don't think the player's looking there all too much, honestly, but doesn't hurt having more detail. And I kind of want to get Pro Builder to do like custom, because there's things that are going to be like just bespoke, but I want to do it in the level and not through Blender to model it, but it's gonna be weird to try to make that happen. This looks really good though. I'm happy with this texture. That just genuinely looks fantastic. Genuinely looks fantastic. All right, let's try playing this area and let me think about more how this is gonna be connected together. Meow. Meow. Over here, get our power up. Oh yeah, the music doesn't play there, does it? Kind of tragic. Alright, let's see if we can get to this place as soon as possible. I also need to make sound effects for collecting the miasma, but meow, 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 meow. Maybe I should make the dash not make as much noise. Because the player's gonna be doing this a bunch, it might get annoying over time. which I could totally see happening. And the dash needs, that swipe needs to be less aggressive too. It sounds a little too strong for my liking. Okay, let's even zoom this in a little bit. I want to see better. Oh, up here. Looks pretty cool. Yeah, I need to play around with the shader for that. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't think I like it actually. Oh. Oh, almost. Come on, get up. Yep, I need to adjust the heights a little bit better. Oh well. And we land. Go over here. Hopefully the power up works this time and doesn't just error. Sweet. Nice. And we get here. You have to double jump and dash to get to this place. Oh yeah, this looks fantastic. I think I need to adjust the player view angle though, because it's always focused on the player, and I think I'd rather have it, the camera be positioned upward a little bit, so that you can see more of the environment. Or you keep it like this and make it feel more ambiguous, but I don't know. Also, that just feels like a wall, so I think we need to do more with this thing over there. Make it feel more monolithic. And then add some characters and stuff around here with a variety of stuff. I think I might try drawing some characters, but yeah, we might do that actually. Do some character art stuff. Yeah, that might be the next thing. Maybe these handrails, that's pretty cool, but the biggest thing too is that I need to add machinery. Oh, it's so cool. You can see the miasma that fade in and fade out from the fog. Like, it's the one thing that's still visible, and it shows you just how incomplete the level is and how much more there is to clean. That's super cool. That is so cool. I love that. Okay, so there's some things at the work with. I think about a little bit more. He just falls off. Come on, stay. There we go. There we go. Yeah, this looks just, oh man. It's super simple. Like, I'm only using cubes, and yet I feel something, man. I feel something from this. I have feelings here, man. Look at this environment. It looks, ooh, I don't want to. I almost want to add fall damage to the game, but nah, screw that. Like, what purpose does that serve? Make them feel more fear up here? Like, sure, I guess. maybe adds that sense of immersion, but I don't know. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, like that's so cool, man. I need to add like reverb too, but that's not as important, and that's gonna be more relevant in the other section. Then we have this bridge that you can get to. The thing is, we have to have it where the player can get over here, I think. That's like the big important thing that's in my mind is, hey, they should be able to cross this. And then have maybe another like encounters or some enemies there. Here, I have to have a couple enemies here. Those little environments, man. It just, I don't know, there's something that just goes hard about it. It makes you want to make music that's not less, more music that's more ambient for this game, and less like in your face. Dude, I kinda wanna get rid of this stupid HUD. If I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Oh, I fell down. No! No! Okay. Oh, I'm stuck. I'm stuck. Oh no! No! I'm stuck. Okay, we have to do the exit. And then go back. That's what I was scared of. There's actually like a getting stuck consideration. That was cool though. I'm not gonna lie, that was pretty cool. That's pretty cool actually. Okay. Now we have our we have our way. We have our way of doing things. Sick. Okay, let's look at like the people who are going to live here, what architecture would come as a result of staying here prolongedly? I'm trying to think. How do the people survive in this environment? That seems more made for machines than them. Extend this out. Bring it over here. Okay, more handrails. Very OSHA certified, I think. Very OSHA coded. Gotta love it. Move this out of the way here. I do like the sound, the Koozie console. Man, games are sick, dude. I feel privileged to get to work on this kind of stuff. This is so cool. Everything we're making here. Genuinely. So freaking cool. I need to figure out, like, either have a reset thing or, like, go into these trees and remove the colliders from all of them, because I think I added them just for, to block, like, to be blocking on, for the depth map, but as far as collision with the player, that should be a thing. So either I make, like, a bigger concave surface so they just bounce off, or, I don't know. I have to figure something out here. Because people manage to make a house there. And I like having some more light sources available here, but I also like the simplicity of just the light from the environment. The player can totally cross this by double jumping. In all honesty, like, if they can jump this chasm here, they should be able to make this jump here for sure. Especially if they take the jump power up. So maybe I don't necessarily need to make a bridge, because they just have that power up available to them. Something I do want to consider, though. Do I like that? No, I don't like that. Oh, maybe that. Catwalk, nah. And no rust tiles. What do I want to use for this for this tunnel thing? The wall brace actually doesn't look half bad on it. And then we can use, like, another type of material on the sides of it to add, like, a structural kind of support feel to it. Very cool. Yep. A lot of building exteriors, but no interiors. So maybe in the next environment we can add more interiors. Just to satiate player curiosity. I know I would be curious. Like, I looking at this, I'm like, I kind of want to go into these places, and yet I can't. Like, we have the interiors over there, but it's almost half open. Like, it's not fully enclosed, really. So I'm not sure if it's a gray, if it really indicates what is in these types of environments. As far as shape language is concerned, though, we do need to do something with this here. Probably add some more blocky, distinctive stuff. It's kind of amazing what you can achieve with just simple shapes. Like super simple shapes can generate some really interesting sense of scale stuff. Maybe have like sandwiches where it's like almost, instead of being blocked, it's like concave stuff, concave platforms where people can exist in. Kind of indicates that, hey, stuff can be going on there. Looks like a water tower almost. Let me try recalculating the light. 1 second. I'm wondering like what shapes get generated from this. Yeah, some more interesting shadows. That's cool. Let's make this feel more like sandwichy. Or like almost like rib cage, like interlocking, kind of like teeth. Can the player even get up to, like, they can get up here probably with the wall jumping, but beyond that they can't really go far. Unless we have this protrude more. Then sure. Here it goes down below 2. And what if we have a humongous pillar supporting this whole structure? That's just precariously hanging off from the top here. It's kind of cool, honestly. Like kind of slapped together and disorganized, but I kind of like this disorganizedness. Like, yeah, I'm no architect by any means, but I don't know, this looks interesting to me. I don't know. it's like progressively going out too. Like each one's sequentially getting further and further out. It's so easy to be concerned with making this perfect. I think we'll keep it very imperfect. Like, how do you? I wonder how the player can, if the player can even get up there, right? I think they should be able to with the double jump and the dash, and plus wall jumping, but it doesn't feel very guaranteed, honestly. Where's our light source? Really, it's not casting the light onto the back and the bottom here? Yeah, it should be per pixel. Significant shadows down there, but here, not much. It's weird. I mean, I guess I'm fine with that artifact, but it's just interesting that that's happening. Let's make some interesting shape here. I want to play around with shadows. Where is Blender? Say we're gonna make a new. Actually, we'll just stick with this project. How would you even make a cutout of like a circle cutout of? Or do you even want to do a circle cutout? Mesh. Oh yeah. Object mode. Add mesh. Cube. And then I guess like what? There's like a subtractive mode. You subtract a shape from another shape. We can add like add object, cylinder, and then do like How'd you do that? Oh, that's for selection. There's gotta be a modifier, right? Cube. Node. Modifier, there we go. Decimate. I think this one, right? Oh, does it have to be like the same object? Like this is like join. I'm kind of dumb, having a dumb moment. Mask. Dude, how do I select the vertex group here? Can I just do that? Okay, maybe it's not doing what I want it to do. Maybe it's I'm confusing this behavior with something else. Yeah, Boolean subtraction, okay. And an object, this one. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I wanted to do. Okay, perfect. And then this one I can scale down a little bit. Yes, sir. Precisely what I'm looking for. Okay. Apply. Call it, I don't know, tunnel. Okay, and then we're gonna select it, we're gonna export it. FBX. Gas tunnel? Like, I don't. Usually I make a name and then I realize that's a terrible name and I should have named something different. Oh well. Okay. And then we duplicate this, and then we use what mesh? Tunnel, I believe. There we go. And then we go to here and we turn off the apply centimeter. Should be good now, and we realize, oh, that's the wrong axis. I'm a dumb butt. So we correct it, and then we rescale it to fit what we want it to fit. And then we make it smaller, like so. Maybe a little smaller. Like so. And like so. It's like a really steep slope. I'm not gonna lie, that feels kind of steep. Could you do it at the center? Like this joint world aligned. Maybe not. Yeah, they all share the same rotation. So it's actually kind of an easy fix to make it all aligned. Interesting. Very interesting. I think here we can do something very interesting, very liminal even. Oh, it's 0. I made the classic blunder. Okay. Bring this back down. Like so. Expand this bad boy out. Very cool. Bring this up a little bit. Yes. Bring it over a little bit. Yes. Very nice. Do something here, duplicate, make it 1, bring it up, bring it over. Honestly, we don't have to even scale it more, that's just kind of good enough, isn't it? Okay, and let's try recomputing lighting and see how this looks here. Lighting, compute. Do you have anything interesting to show here? Oh yeah, I didn't do the thing, did I? I have to make this collider. Not a box collider, but a mesh collider. Okay, let's try this again. Okay. I almost want to make this stronger. Or make the shadows darker. The shadows are already pretty dark though. I'm not sure why it's so bright here. Because it really shouldn't be. Honestly, should not be so bright. Which is weird to me. One second, let's go modify our shader a little bit. Where's our sun calculation happening? Figure out the value. Maybe our tolerance is too permissive. Yeah. That feels stronger. That feels more and things that should be included in shadows are included in shadow. Very nice. And now I feel inclined to make the light a little bit brighter too. What does this look like from over here? It just looks like a block. It just looks like a square. A singular square. That's pretty goof, Juby. What to do? What to do? What is a gamer girl to do? I kind of don't like the boxy feel, but because it feels so disconnected, like it's just there. I can add more pillars to it, but it's like, okay, why though? Why are we adding these pillars here? I get why, but I'm like, why is this worth having this be elevated instead of just being a building all the way down? Nah, I'm not sure. I almost want this to have a drop too, like it's not just here, but it keeps descending down a little bit more. Like it's in levels. So we have this, bring it back here, and then there too, but then forward a little bit more. Global. Maybe I should just get the stair assets and use it in this case. Might be actually better than what I'm doing right now. I don't know. There's something kind of fun about forcing primitives to be complicated shapes. So maybe we'll stick with it like as is. The more I work on this, the more I'm like, maybe this game is just gonna be one level. One giant level, an interconnected level, but one level nonetheless, instead of multiple. Yeah, I wonder let's see how plausible it is for the player to get up here now. Let's just see how plausible it is for the player to get here. Oh, this feels so dark. Oh, because the level asset's is not associated yet, is it? With this. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, I need to remember to do that. Gotta remember to do that. At some point, I'll do a fix for it, but this is fine for now. I need to fix the sound effects audio. That's not working right. Oh, I think I did actually, because the dash isn't, and the swing isn't working, or making sounds, which is actually kind of nice, because I like the footsteps, I just don't like the swing sounds. That jump scares me every single time. Yeah, the constraints for wall jumping are weirdly kind of picky right now. I have to lower this a little bit. Okay. We can get over here. Okay. Cool, and make it across here. Now we have that little building over there, which the Shadow Acne kind of makes it feel like it has like texture almost. Like it seems less like a byproduct and more like an actual less of a byproduct and more of a fidelity thing. Okay. Make it there. Yeah, we make it here. And yeah, you have access to this area here, which is kind of cool. It's kind of lopsided, but it's still pretty cool actually. And if you really want it like nosy, you could probably find a way to squeeze your way up there. You probably have to double jump. Yep. Yep, you can make it up here, yep. It makes it feel almost like an auditorium. Makes you want to keep going up. The circle collider is going hard to help us jank our way up here. Oh my goodness. Get up, get up, get up. No, no. No. Oh my goodness. Yep. Can we? I feel like we should be able to make it up here. Like we can climb this, but and we can fall down. We can jump down here. Oh yeah, this is cool. This is so cool. I'm so happy with this, man. I'm so happy. This starting to feel like more and more like an actual place, and we're utilizing the same space. Like I haven't moved on to the other parts of the map just because there's still so much to squeeze out of this area. Let me go over here. Yep, and then we can make it up here. And then we have access to this overpass. And we can jump back to where we started. This is so cool, man. I'm happy. This level has come together so freaking well. Oh yeah. That looks so cool to me, man. I don't know what to say. Okay, cool. I think I'm gonna end stream here. Thanks for anyone who watched. I appreciate the company. Dude, this game is like so sick, dude. I'm like so... The more we flesh out and add to this levels, the more it's like feeling like a real place. I think the next thing we have to do is the NPCs. Like we have NPCs that are... This is like a writing task. I'm gonna have to sit down and write the characters that are gonna be occupying. Because right now we only have like 1, 2 if you can include the boss fight, but yeah, 2 because that boss will turn into an NPC, which I still need to do the character or portraits for, but it's like so freaking cool, man. Like, I know I said it before, but it feels like the more we dig into this, the more it kind of gives back in terms of possibilities. One idea I want to do though is that because we're only having one texture or one map for dirt across all levels, like across all the verticality of this level, we need to kind of treat things differently. And I think I just got an idea playing through this where every place, I'm going to describe what the problem is that we're facing here. Basically, you may notice that if you look at the pattern of dirt down there and then up here, you're going to notice that they're actually the same. The same shape you see happen here is the same as down there, and that's because there's no sense of the Y. Everything's sharing the same Y coordinate. So the dirt there is the same as the dirt up here. So I want to keep it where the player can't clean up this area and can only clean it up when they go up here. But how do you do that when they can walk there? Well, we can just keep them from walking there. Like, I'm finding new and fun and new ways to avoid having to refactor the system to support like multiple textures, and instead just be like, hey, you know what if we just keep the player from going through this part of the game entirely or this part of the floor entirely. That way this just remains dirty until they unlock this area up there. And that's how we enforce, like, you have to explore the whole map to be able to clean a lot of the areas, because there's places like here that are just going to be like not able to be cleaned unless you go to the top floor where there's no death planes limiting what you can and can't touch. So let's have to first make it aligned because we don't want to make it impossible for this area to be cleaned. I have to make a new shader for this too, because it looks way different compared to, this is like one of the first iteration of like the miasma thing, and it's fine for the time, but now we have such more interesting visuals with the shader we have created for ourselves here that like I'm contemplating just making a new one that's kind of similar to this but still very distinct, so you can tell, hey, this is a hazard. You can and will die if you were to cross this, so don't. I have to be kind of careful too, because the player can only jump so high starting out. Let's see how this looks actually. And that's how I was going to end stream, but I want to do this a little bit more. Turn off that. Nice. So we get through here, then we get to this area, and that sticks out like a sore thumb, but that's actually maybe a good thing, because the hazard that can really mess you up is very clear and visible. And yeah, you can just jump over it and dash, and you have the dash at this point, so this is perfectly reasonable. Yeah, it's perfectly reasonable actually. Cool. And then every other place where we want to have that kind of level of verticality where you want it to only be cleaned by the player at a certain altitude, we can just add hazards there so they can't step on that area. Because right now you can only clean the space if you're on the ground touching it. So if we can prevent the player from doing that, then we can control where things get cleaned and remain dirty. The only issue is like enemies like this where they can spread the dirt in unforeseen ways. So I'm gonna have to play around with that. Yep. Oh, dude, I'm so happy with this. Our game is coming together, man. It's coming together. Except for that Z fighting, that's not coming together. That's like pretty bad. We gotta fix that, brother. We gotta fix that Z fighting. But we'll fix it eventually. And then make this water a little bit more beep. Oh, that's not great. You're supposed to be a death plane. How come that didn't happen? Oopsie. Yeah, you just okay. Well, that's another bug to fix. I'll add that to the list of already quite a lot. Alright, this is super sick though. I'm happy with this. Characters and enemies, because this feels a bit empty. We can add like the Cantails in here somewhere, but yeah, I want to have like little minor stuff for people to do here, or minor character arcs. And there's already ideas I want to explore. I just need to sit down and write. I have to be a writer. That's crazy. For the first time in my life, I don't have to worry about... I still have to worry about programming and art, but now I have to actually be a writer on top of that. I never knew the day would arise when I have to do that. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do like a shader. I don't know, I kind of want to make this feel more blobby. Like the square shape is nice, discrete. It's easy for you, the player, to figure out where they are in spatial relation to it. But I want this blob to feel like the world is like a corrupted, glitchy part of the world. Like this, Miasma is kind of glitchy in a lot of ways, and it's obscuring the world, but you can tangibly fix it and manipulate it. But this, I want it to be far more like, no, this is something beyond what you can comprehend or deal with. It's not your job to fight it, it's your job to avoid it. Oh my goodness. So yeah, I need to play around with this. And have it be like something that's scalable to different dimensions. So I'm not sure what we're gonna do there. Either have multiple different types of meshes, or I don't know. I need to figure out how I'm gonna, or maybe do like a kind of like a 9 slice type thing, except for 3D volumes, where it's like, what was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 20? A 20 slice? If I counted it correctly. Oh, I keep forgetting there's like this whole area over here that's still free to the player, which I'm not sure what to do here. And it kind of exposes the other half of the world. I'm super happy with this, dude. I can't get over how happy I am with this. I don't know why the volume looks like that, though. It should be more smooth in this transition, but whatever. Oh, maybe it's because, oh, wait. It might be a simple fix. Ooh, this inverse fog thing looks kind of cool. Where like the closer it is, the brighter it is, and the further away, the darker it is. That's pretty cool. No, but let's go up here. Like, why are you the way that you are? Why are you like this? Okay, you're just too far away. But also, is there potentially like an issue where you're discarding pixels too soon, maybe? I'm not really seeing that fog. I'm not seeing it. Yeah, nothing weird like that. Oh well. Alright, I guess I'll call here. Thanks you guys for hanging out. I appreciate the company and hope you enjoyed the game and how it's coming along. Catch you later. Bye-bye.